What's up, ladies and gents? You know what time of day it is. It's Zebec time, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about Zebec. We're going to be discussing what we are seeing here on the charts, and I'll be giving you guys my price prediction for Zebec over the coming days and weeks, as well as my targets for 2025. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to the channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you all here. So of course, we're going to be diving straight into this video. We're going to start off with the shorter term here on Zebec and then move on to the 2025 targets. Of course, we are on the 4-hour chart right now, and here on Zebec, despite quite a few other cryptos going up, particularly larger cap cryptos like Ethereum, here on Zebec we have seen a bit of a downtrend over the past few days, and this, guys, is to be expected because in the past few videos we spoke about the structure here on Zebec, and of course what we were watching generally was this uptrend that Zebec was in. So of course we had a support that looked a little bit like this. You can see that it was keeping Zebec in this bullish trend, and of course we had this upper resistance as well. Now, of course, this is a rising wedge pattern, and this is a bearish chart pattern. Now, of course, that means that the prices in the short term are probably going to be heading downwards. Now, of course, in the longer term, I am still very, very bullish here for Zebec, and I will get onto that. But here for the shorter term, so over the coming days and weeks, I do think that the Zebec price could be heading down a little bit further. And the price target that we have of the rising wedge here that you see on the screen, in my opinion, will be the target for Zebec in the short term. So of course, that is this distance here between the first test of support down here to the first test of resistance up here. And as you guys can see, we already have broken down from this rising wedge at this pattern, and that gives us here a price target on Zebec of about 0.0038. So of course, this is one of the price targets that I think we could see in the shorter term. Of course, if you're a slightly longer term holder here on Zebec, if the prices get anywhere near this region, so anywhere between 0.04 and 0.0038, that is a great place to be buying up Zebec, because like I say, in the slightly longer time frames, I am still wildly bullish here for Zebec. Now, another potential price target that we could see as well is the fact that we could also be seeing this smaller rising wedge pattern that looks a little bit like this. Of course, similar story as this rising wedge. It is also a bearish chart pattern, and that actually gives us a slightly higher price target here of this distance, which tells us that we could see around 0.004 as the price target. So those are two shorter term price targets that we could be seeing here on Zebec. Like I say, this is probably going to happen over the coming days and weeks. So if you are a holder here on Zebec, do be prepared for this scenario. If you do have a longer term vision, I would suggest you don't get shaken out if we do see the prices get down to this area. And of course, guys, if you want to get $10 completely free to buy the dips here on Zebec, then don't forget to check out the MEX exchange. As you can see here on the screen, they're giving every new user who signs up using the link in the description down below $10 to get started. Now, this exchange does not require KYC. The only thing you need to do to get that $10 is to deposit some fiat currency or crypto into your new account, and that $10 is yours. So like I say, you can use it to buy some Zebec, or you can long or short Zebec with up to 20 times leverage using MEX futures. Again, link for this in the description down below. Thank you guys so much. Let's get back into this video. So, of course, this is what we are seeing here in the shorter term. Of course, this price action that we are seeing as well is also to be expected in the broader context of the markets. And because as you may have seen just before we went onto the next page, you saw this page here, and this is the capital rotation chart here for crypto. This is essentially the path to an altcoin season. And we get 4 different phases that we generally tend to expect here in crypto. Now, for a very long time, we were in phase 1 where Bitcoin was taking the limelight. Now, over the past 4 weeks, we have moved into phase 2 where Ethereum, as you can see, is clearly outperforming Bitcoin. And we know that Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin because here on Ethereum, we've been making new highs now for the past 6 weeks, whereas Bitcoin has kind of been stuck around the 120K region. So we're firmly now in phase 2 of this chart. Now, Zebec is a smaller cap crypto. So Zebec, according to this chart, is going to do best when we get to phase 4 altcoin season. Now, of course, while Ethereum is taking the limelight with its own performance, we're going to see a lot of other cryptos kind of underperforming while Ethereum rallies up. But at some point, we are going to see people take their profits on the Ethereum pump that we have seen and going to start placing their capital into other cryptocurrencies. Now, the ones that are probably going to benefit most after that occurs is these large caps, and that's where we get phase 3. And then after large caps have really pumped, so large caps are things like XRP, XLM, Solana, ADA, and so on. When they have done their massive pumps, that is when we start to see a real altcoin season where coins like Zebec are going to have the best possible chance to do these 5x's, 10x's, even 20x's this bull cycle. So that is one of the reasons why I'm bullish here for Zebec in the slightly longer time frames. I think it will take weeks to probably even several months before we see a real altcoin season kick in. But when it does kick in, we will know here on Zebec because we will see pumps like we saw back in May again when the altcoin season comes. Now, of course, on top of that, capital rotation being a primary driver here for Zebec to go up, what we've also seen here on Zebec, which I think will affect it in the slightly longer time frame, has been this bull flag pattern. So here on Zebec, we have seen a pretty textbook bull flag pattern that occurred here back in June and July. Of course, as you guys can see, we saw this massive pump here on Zebec. This was basically a parabolic move that took Zebec 10x back in May. After that, we saw this consolidation where prices were heading down in this channel. Now, of course, we saw a breakout to the upside from this bull flag pattern that occurred in July. And of course, a bull flag, as the name suggests, is a bullish chart pattern. And the price target stemming from this bull flag is the length of the parabolic move going into the bull flag in the first place. So it's this distance here. And if we drag this measuring tool to where we saw the breakout, you guys can see we are looking at a huge price target here on Zebec of 0.02. So like I say, this is a slightly longer time frame target that I have, possibly within a month or two. So a potential journey here for Zebec could look something like this, where in the next few days and weeks, we see the prices dip down to that short-term price target that we had. And then we start to see a reversal cook up here on Zebec, and we start to see prices continuing upwards to the price target of that bull flag pattern, maybe sometime in October of 2025. So, of course, that is one of the slightly longer time frame targets that I have. But if we're talking about for the very top of this bull cycle, I think Zebec could be going even higher. Now, the price targets that I have for you for the top of this bull cycle stem from these Fibonacci levels, and I use them because throughout Zebec's history we can see that they've been tested as resistances on multiple different occasions. So 3 times, for example, the prices came up to the 0.5 fib to test them as a resistance, and more recently we saw that as Zebec did this parabolic move, we went up to this 1.41 fib, and that was a major resistance here for Zebec as well. So these fib levels are places where Zebec finds a resistance. So when Zebec goes to make new all-time highs past this 1.414 fib here, you see that we have a set of natural fib levels. Now the next one up here is the golden fib level at 1.618. That tells us we could see 0.009 here on Zebec. And past that, we've got this 2 fib, tells us we could see 0.017. Of course, for my bull cycle targets here for Zebec, my main one is this 2.618 fib that tells us we could see 0.046. So that is one of my main targets for 2025. Of course, if things can get really parabolic here on Zebec, I think we could also hit 0.1. Of course, that is a solid Of course, this is going to be a big resistance, just like 100,000 Bitcoin was. It's a round number where people like to place sell orders. So 0.046 and 0.1 are my targets here for Zebec in 2025. Of course, for the best possible chance to see these price targets come to fruition, what we would like to see is if we go on to CoinMarketCap, on the homepage we have these 2 indicators, the Fear and Greed Index and the Altcoin Season Index. Now the Fear and Greed Index here on the left is out of 100. The higher the number, the better, and it measures the sentiment in the crypto market. So at the closer to 100 we get, the more euphoria we see, and the more risk that investors are willing to take. So of course, in that sort of environment, we see these massive pumps in the shortest space of time. Of course, similar thing with the altcoin season index here is out of 100 as well. The higher the number, the better. And basically, the closer to 100 we get, the more we see altcoins outperforming Bitcoin in general. Now, of course, again, this measures the risk appetite for investors here in crypto. And of course, the higher the number here, the more risk that people are willing to take, because they're more willing to invest in altcoins than Bitcoin. And essentially, when both these indicators are both close to 100, that's the kind of environment, like I say, where we see the best possible chance of parabolic moves in smaller cap cryptos here like Zebec. So those are kind of my thoughts in a nutshell here for Zebec. At the moment, you can see Fiat and Green Index is at 62. Altcoin Season Index is only 34. So despite quite a few altcoins moving, we're only seeing this value at 34, which means if it's the first time you are seeing a video here about Zebec, I do personally think you are still early because this indicator has a lot of room to run to the upside. So of course, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Do let me know down in the comments if you are holding any Zebec. If you are holding any Zebec, what are your personal price targets for the price this bull cycle? Of course, thank you guys once again, and I'll see you in the next video.